Welcome to Demolition Worker. Today we witness a terrifying disaster unfolding in the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point. A massive tanker carrying millions of barrels of highly flammable crude oil sails through these treacherous and incredibly busy maritime waters. Deep within the complex mechanical heart of this steel giant, a sudden and catastrophic technical failure begins to silently and rapidly escalate. Without any warning, a massive explosion violently rips through the upper deck, instantly transforming the peaceful morning into an absolute living nightmare. Thick plumes of toxic black smoke immediately billow hundreds of meters into the atmosphere, completely blocking out the bright Middle Eastern sun. The sheer towering scale of the raging inferno is absolutely terrifying, dwarfing everything around it with an intense and completely uncontrollable fury. Panicked crew members desperately scramble along the lower decks, struggling to escape the blinding heat and the rapidly spreading flames above them. Inside the chaotic bridge, emergency alarms blare relentlessly, while the captain desperately broadcasts an urgent distress signal to all nearby maritime stations. The unforgiving fire spreads with terrifying speed across the massive deck, quickly consuming everything and turning solid metal structures completely red hot. Isolated in the vast ocean, the burning vessel looks incredibly vulnerable until the first specialized rescue units finally appear on the horizon. Heavily equipped firefighting tugboats aggressively cut through the choppy waves, rushing at maximum speed toward the towering column of thick black smoke. A highly experienced rescue commander intensely studies the burning tanker through his binoculars, fully understanding the extreme danger of this critical mission. The brave rescue fleet cautiously approaches the colossal burning vessel, strictly maintaining a safe perimeter to avoid the intense radiating thermal energy. Massive mechanical water cannons are quickly elevated and precisely aimed at the burning ship as an immense pressure builds within the heavy pipes. Powerful cannons suddenly erupt, blasting massive streams of high-pressure water mixed with specialized chemical foam directly toward the roaring and destructive flames. Bright white arcs of heavy chemical foam gracefully cut through the dense pitch-black smoke, creating a visually stunning yet incredibly deadly contrast. As the cooling foam violently strikes the scorching deck, it instantly vaporizes, creating massive clouds of thick steam that blanket the ship. Brave firefighters wearing silver heat-reflective suits struggle against the blinding thermal radiation, pushing their heavy equipment to the absolute maximum operational limits. Extreme internal temperatures cause the thick exterior paint to violently blister and peel away from the massive steel hull of the ship. Deep inside the damaged vessel, heavy steel support beams glow bright orange, groaning loudly under the immense structural stress of the heat. The determined rescue commander urgently shouts critical orders over the radio, knowing the weakened ship could catastrophically break apart at any moment. Additional support vessels finally arrive, completely surrounding the burning tanker to launch a massive coordinated attack from multiple strategic angles and positions. From high above, the burning tanker becomes the dramatic centerpiece of a chaotic mechanical ballet involving brave ships, powerful water, and smoke. The aggressive flames seem to violently fight back, flaring up angrily as shifting winds blow toxic black smoke directly toward the rescuers. Highly skilled captains quickly maneuver their heavy vessels backward to avoid the sudden deadly wall of intense heat and blinding toxic smoke. The relentless fire continues to burn with terrifying fury as highly flammable crude oil violently spills onto the deck, feeding the inferno. A daring emergency helicopter hovers precariously above the chaos, accurately dropping heavy loads of red fire retardant chemicals directly into the blaze. This precise chemical drop temporarily suppresses a massive section of the fire, allowing brave tugboats to safely advance and intensify their attack. powerful water cannons aggressively focus on the absolute hottest sections of the hull, desperately trying to cool the melting structural steel framework. Deafening sounds of violently hissing steam fill the air as thick white fog completely covers the lower half of the massive tanker. Inside the high-tech tugboat cabin, advanced thermal imaging screens clearly display the incredibly intense and dangerous heat signature of the burning tanker. The exhausted rescue commander nervously wipes heavy sweat from his forehead, feeling the intense radiant heat even inside the heavily protected cabin. A sudden massive ocean wave violently crashes against the burning ship, adding the highly unpredictable danger of rough seas to the inferno. Heavy tugboats wildly pitch and roll in the dangerous swells, but dedicated crews struggle to keep their powerful water cannons perfectly aimed. A brave firefighter tightly grips the heavy manual controls of the water cannon, desperately fighting against the violently unpredictable ocean motion. Specialized chemical foam slowly begins to accumulate on the damaged deck, creating a thick white protective blanket that effectively smothers smaller flames. However, the massive central fire continues to roar with terrifying intensity, aggressively feeding on a deeply ruptured and highly pressurized oil pipeline. A sudden secondary explosion violently rocks the weakened deck, sending a terrifying fresh plume of deadly fire and heavy debris upward. The dedicated tugboats are immediately forced to retreat slightly backward, completely humbled by this terrifying and incredibly massive display of destructive energy. The setting sun casts an eerie orange glow through the toxic black smoke, making this apocalyptic maritime scene look even more dramatic. As dark night finally falls, the massively burning ship brightly illuminates the pitch-black ocean like a truly giant and incredibly terrifying beacon. The desperate rescue operation tirelessly continues under the brilliant illumination of powerful mechanical searchlights, sharply cutting through the thick darkness and smoke. Glowing red steel of the massive hull becomes terrifyingly visible in the dark, highlighting the absolute critical danger of imminent structural failure. A highly specialized modern fireboat slowly extends its massive mechanical boom arm directly over the burning deck to spray heavy foam downwards. This precise downward spray of chemical foam proves highly effective, directly hitting the exact source of the violently ruptured and burning pipeline. The roaring and destructive flames slowly begin to shrink as the completely relentless assault of heavy water and specialized foam finally works. Exhausted firefighters on the heavily battered tugboats cheer silently, their tired faces brightly illuminated by the slowly fading firelight and powerful searchlights. However, this terrifying danger is far from over, because the immense heat deeply trapped inside the massive hull threatens other oil compartments. Advanced thermal imaging clearly shows incredibly dangerous hotspots remaining deep within the ship, meaning the massive cooling operation must continue without pause. Millions of heavy gallons of cold seawater are relentlessly pumped directly against the glowing hull, creating an unending cloud of dense steam. The environmental stakes here are absolutely massive, as millions of gallons of toxic crude oil threaten to destroy this pristine marine ecosystem. A beautiful school of innocent fish swims peacefully below the surface, completely oblivious to the raging inferno and potential ecological disaster above. Dedicated rescue teams quickly deploy heavy floating containment booms around the critically damaged ship to catch any highly toxic potential oil leaks. Bright orange containment booms form a massive protective circle around the blackened tanker, creating a crucial defense line for the fragile environment. The terrifying fire is finally reduced to small, isolated pockets of flames, while massive columns of black smoke become thin gray wisps. Powerful tugboats bravely move in extremely close, using heavy water cannons to precisely target remaining stubborn fires on the completely devastated deck. The massive upper deck is now a chaotic mess of heavily twisted metal, melted pipes, and thick layers of white chemical foam. A dedicated firefighter sprays high-pressure water onto a smoldering piece of machinery, completely extinguishing the last visible flame in that specific sector. The exhausted commander on the main rescue tugboat slowly lowers his binoculars, letting out a long, highly visible sigh of deep relief. The secure radio crackles with reports from all surrounding units officially confirming that the massive main fire is finally knocked down successfully. Dawn finally breaks over the Strait of Hormuz, casting bright pink light that deeply contrasts with the completely blackened and smoking vessel. The massive oil tanker sits dangerously low in the water, heavily damaged but miraculously still floating after surviving the truly devastating inferno. Rescue crews cautiously board the smoldering deck, wearing full protective gear and carrying sensitive portable gas detectors to locate deadly toxic fumes. Portable gas detector screen clearly shows safe oxygen levels, allowing the brave crews to proceed deeper into the massive metallic wreckage. The entire upper deck is heavily covered in thick, dried chemical foam, looking exactly like a bizarre and truly apocalyptic winter landscape. Trained structural engineers quickly begin assessing the catastrophic damage, carefully inspecting the massive steel support beams badly warped by the extreme heat. A modern drone rapidly flies over the damaged ship, capturing highly detailed resolution images to carefully plan the upcoming massive salvage operation. The massive steel hull miraculously remains completely intact, and relieved engineers officially confirmed that the sensitive crude oil compartments were never breached. The exhausted rescue commander finally smiles for the very first time, happily communicating this incredibly good news to the Coast Guard headquarters. A massive and incredibly powerful salvage tugboat finally arrives on the scene, preparing to carefully tow the disabled giant tanker safely back. Heavy, solid steel towing cables are securely attached to the damaged bow, requiring intense physical labor and extreme caution from the crew. The massive salvage tugboat engines loudly roar to life, aggressively churning the water white as they slowly take the immense tanker's weight. Slowly, the giant blackened ship finally begins to move forward, starting a complex towing operation that showcases incredible human engineering and determination. A stunning aerial shot captures the heroic towing procession, showing the relatively small tugboat leading the massive scarred tanker across blue waters. Dedicated environmental cleanup crews immediately begin their vital work, using advanced mechanical skimmers to safely collect residual firefighting foam from the ocean. A close look reveals the highly efficient mechanical skimmer effectively sucking up polluted surface water, beautifully leaving behind clean and pristine ocean. The bright protective containment booms are carefully reeled back onto the ships, completely neutralizing the terrifying threat of a massive toxic spill. The slow and steady towing convoy finally approaches the distant coastline, where the massive silhouette of an industrial port becomes clearly visible. Organized Port Authority boats quickly come out to formally escort the damaged tanker, carefully guiding it safely through the busy shipping channel. The massive scarred ship is finally moored at a specialized repair dock, where giant industrial cranes loom overhead to begin the reconstruction. Dock workers wearing hard hats and bright safety vests walk onto the ruined deck, surveying the incredible extent of the extreme damage. Bright hot sparks fly as highly skilled workers begin cutting away the melted and twisted steel structures using heavy industrial plasma torches. A massive industrial crane effortlessly lifts a completely destroyed section of the complex piping system, slowly moving it into large scrap piles. This incredibly complex and highly dangerous salvage operation is a truly massive undertaking, perfectly representing the absolute resilience of the maritime industry. A stunning high-speed time-lapse clearly shows the rapid removal of damaged parts alongside the steady cleaning of the colossal steel deck. The brave rescue commander proudly stands on the dock, looking up at the massive ship with deep satisfaction for his dedicated team. As the sun sets over the port, the secured tanker stands as a true testament to a successfully averted massive global environmental disaster. The pristine blue ocean water flowing freely through the Strait of Hormuz emphasizes the absolute success of these vital maritime rescue efforts. We will always remember the terrifying power of that massive explosion and the incredibly unyielding bravery of the dedicated maritime rescue teams. Thank you for watching this incredible story of survival and engineering. Subscribe to Demolition Worker for more amazing and thrilling documentary content.